tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. While shepherds kept their watching over silent flocks by night, behold, throughout the heavens there shone a holy light. Oh, go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. The shepherds feared and trembled when lo, above the earth rang out the angel chorus that held our Savior's birth. Oh, go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. The humble Christ was born and brought us God's salvation that blessed Christmas morn. Oh, go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Oh, go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell
Radio, powered by iTrackRadio.com, your independent music source. Fresh, new music, right here on the all-new GHP Radio, your new independent music source. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this edition of the Indie Live Spot, streaming live on YouTube from GHP Radio, and we're very excited. You hear some great, wonderful music there from our guests, as you can see. This handsome man on the screen right here, Mr. Will Donato, is in the house. Welcome, Will.
Welcome, Will.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Oh man, yes, we're so happy to have you back, man. We was listening to some great, wonderful Christmas music from your Christmas CD, Renaissance, just a few moments ago. And then, of course, we went into the first part of Elevate, which we're going to get into a little bit here in a little bit, too, as well. But, man, welcome back, guy.
You guys are awesome. Hold on one second. I got to turn something. There we go. Can you guys see me okay?
Oh, yeah. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. You know, it's such a pleasure being here, you guys, and I enjoyed our pre-conversation. Thank you so much, and don't mind my new holiday CD.
And Ella, hold it up a little bit higher.
Yes,
my handsome producer said, make sure I do the branding. I'm going to go ahead and peek over my products.
Now, you have two CDs that you're holding up. Tell us about both. One is holiday.
That's a good segue. Thank you. And let me grab another CD. I'll hold up three.
There you go.
That's fine. You're the guest.
That's right.
That's
you guys are awesome. You know, right now, I might as well do some. Can I do some sales right now?
Yes.
I'm doing a bundle, and you can do 2 CDs for $30 or 3 CDs for $400. So the 2 for $30 is a lot better deal.
There you go.
That's right.
That's
Joy
it.
said, I'll take 5 of the $400 bundle. And do you guys validate parking, by the way? Oh, we're not.
We might be able to validate on Skype.
Your own house, dude.
I know, Ray is so old school. He said, no parking on the dance floor. Ray. You guys are great.
Now tell us where we can buy that special you just mentioned.
You know what? It's super easy. It's willdonato.com. And like I like to tell my fans, you need a computer box or some kind of an internet machine to access my website. And computer box or internet machine. I have an Atari 1040 with a dial-up modem.
Hey, dude, they're up to PlayStation 10 now.
I know. Crazy. You know, but we've got a nice bundle. I've sold a lot of these. It's so joyful, you know, and I live about maybe 5 minutes from our post office, and it's kind of like Hooterville. It's a small little post office, and just the joy of interacting with the clerks. And you got, here comes Will and his phone packs shaped like CDs again.
Oh, Gary, I love it. I see you're showing his CD covers. So, what about digital downloads? For those who are into digital downloads, where can they find
We've got
those?
you know what? Thanks to Intervision Records, we got all the platforms covered, and I'm a fan of new technology and new delivery systems. So, I love it all. But I'm kind of like the grown folks when my wife's friends have wine get-togethers, and you walk in and they're actually playing a CD. Joyce, just doesn't that feel good still?
It does.
They play the whole vibe, because we designed these as a vibe.
Mhm.
And if they're playing, Will Donato Elevate, and then it goes to, Gap Band, and then goes back to Mariah, and like, well, what happened to the guy, the Italian guy had a set in the vibe?
Well, I'd like you to elaborate. Before we went live on the air, Gary was playing "Oh Christmas Morning" from your
Yes.
Renaissance album. I guess it's a holiday, Renaissance holiday
It's a holiday
album.
CD.
A CD, okay. And I just aged myself. I said album, but anyway.
It's all right.
Tell us about
Well, they still call them
Christmas
records
morning.
too.
When we were off the air,
Yeah.
Mac noticed that you had bagpipes in there, and because did you base it on the Renaissance period of music?
I did. And it's funny because we were talking about, a little background, but when you live out where I live, Palm Springs, I could almost make you laugh. Everywhere I go is about 126 miles, and it's so wild. LAX, 126. Some places down in Newport Beach that Griselda probably knows, Spaghettini's, that's like 124. Where I'm performing tonight, you didn't hear that, Governor Newsom, is 2 hours. You didn't hear that. It's a private party. But everywhere we go is like 2 hours. So I use that time to really dig deep. And, I actually learned more about the Renaissance period myself because I could not do another holiday CD with the same old, Carol of the Bells and all that. It's been done. And plus, this might sound shocking, but as much as we love our contemporary jazz, I remember when I first got in the format, I'd sit down with my wife and I'd put on a group and I'd hear this killer jamming. I go, was that Silent Night? She goes, I think so. Was that Old Christmas Tree? I don't remember.
Right.
The tenor solo was about 10 minutes long. I believe that might have been, when I did my first CD, which is called Best of the Season, I designed it for my mother-in-law. I wanted her to sit down, and I wanted Silent Night to sound like Silent Night with art, with like a Joyce Spencer artistry. Are we tricky on our regular stuff? Do we get down on our regular stuff? Yes. But on Christmas, I just wanted it to be something that could be in the background, it could be in the foreground. So I took it to another level with the Renaissance CD. The fun,
by the way.
the fun that we had with this, the guy that I work with that I'll be seeing this afternoon too, Don Huber, is such I call him the Swiss Army knife of human beings. He's a MIDI expert. He can actually sit down and play bass to the track. He can play piano.
Wow.
So we just sat there and I go, I need that thing like river dancing, the clicking and the clacking and the spoons.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Of course, my wife Diana always threatens that she's going to jump on stage with me with her spoons.
Diana.
Go ahead, Diane. You can do it.
Please, Diana, go.
Go for it, Diana.
And Griselda knows my wife is a fun-loving kid, so she would do it. But we had some. Well, she had, we really had fun crafting this, and I wanted it to be classical and peaceful. I almost wanted it to be meditative, but what's so funny? I really did learn about the Baroque period versus classical, and that, like right now I'm doing a CD on Debussy, and
Oh, really?
Oh,
yeah, the whole CD, because I think Debussy, the composer, is like somebody took J. Rowe or a guy out here to Tang, or they took, a Brian Culbertson, and they threw him back in the 1830s, and they go, I don't know what that guy's doing over in that corner. What do you call that? I don't know. Is that classical?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Really, he played like a jazz guy, Gary, and G and Ray, but it's like, who's that weird guy in the corner? What do you call that? I don't know. And because they didn't call it jazz yet, because they didn't, they had, but
Right.
his stuff,
No.
it can be written out as jazz, and that fascinates
Yeah.
me.
Mhm.
It really
I
does.
understand that.
Absolutely.
Jazz.
It's just like if you listen to Baroque and like the Bach and Handels, and
Yeah.
I remember when I was in college, they said, well, they described this music as improvisatory music.
Yes.
And I said, well, yes, because he was playing jazz in a sense. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well,
of course, if you're with classical instructors who are very, they're, oh no, it's not jazz,
Oh,
But-
Lord.
Right, right.
They got offended. Just a little bit.
I
Like, how
know.
dare
I know
you
what you mean.
Well, I
line
have
up jazz with these?
I have a funny story for you. So once I figured out the song selections, so again, before COVID, you're back in your car, but I love calling on YouTube, and I wanted to hear some versions of Scarborough Fair. As
Mhm.
Which I love. Yeah. it's
you
my
get
favorite.
every version in the drive as a reference point, and it's actually fascinating. I mean, I can swear that on every song on this Christmas album, I've heard about even the classical stuff. I've heard so many versions that I could decide how I wanted to place the vibe of the music.
Mhm.
But I do have a funny story. So when I got into the Renaissance thing, I got into it way too deep. So I thought, I'm playing Renaissance on a modern instrument. So I thought, well, why don't I get an Irish flute? Because I was starting to get into that whole Celtic thing. Really.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So, in our business, Joyce will tell you, if you look for a vintage instrument, all of a sudden everything becomes $4,000. I go, oh, Diane, here I go. I'm gonna call the flute maker in Ireland, and that wood flute's not gonna be the plastic thing at the music store that G had in our little.
Right.
Let me hear. Give me. Here's a $3,300 thing. Give it to me.
Right.
And the guy said, no, it's affordable. And I said, well, how do you guys play? This is what cracked me up. On the Irish carols, they call them. I could totally see like Guinness and drunk guys in a tavern. I asked the guy, well, how do you do different keys on the Irish flute? And I'm thinking already, like the harmonica guys, Joyce, that show up to the gig with their cases of harmonicas. Do you do Mustang Sally? And then they go through the little case. And
Right.
and the guy, this is what he said, and it made me laugh so hard. No, mate, we only play in one key. It's D. And then he said, occasionally C, but I could totally picture these guys drunk on Guinness. Let's all do the old washerwoman. All right, what key?
Gee,
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, holy crap, they're just drinking Guinness. Okay, do you know the old man walks backwards? Yes, what key? D.
Yeah.
And so when I listened to my CD, I always told Don, okay, which guy in the Irish carols is going to be the drunk guy in Guinness? Okay, let's make it the guy doing the clogging. Okay, so we always have a little. There's one guy in all these tracks I think is drunk, and
Trying to do the river dance, huh?
I always tell my fans this is a holiday CD with an Irish accent.
Nice.
I just think the bagpipes are so cool, though.
I do too.
I do too. I like.
How do you record a bagpipe in a studio, though?
Okay, so the bagpipes, I used an electric wind instrument.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Okay.
because if you get a bagpipe guy, he only knows one song. He knows Amazing Grace, the Scottish guy at the funeral.
Yeah.
And they don't play in tune.
Exactly, they don't. Others don't.
No.
You're like, whoa, that hurt. Ray, you were gonna ask? What'd you say, Ray?
When I was listening to it, I said, I know he be playing a saxophone. What the hell is he playing bagpipes up in there? Or what? Damn.
I just love this. Every flute on here is an alto flute. I thought I'll come into the project with something, Joyce, you know that. The alto flute just sounds good before you even play anything. It's like, ooh.
Yes.
And, I had some classical songs on here, and I just enjoyed recording them. The studio I record at, the guy is so brilliant. He is just literally point and shoot, and it always comes out great, and he has great gear. And before I moved out here, I used to always have to go to LA, you guys, and I was in it to win it. I did the whole 5-hour round trip, and I'd come home, and Dinah goes, "What'd you work on?" "I got a half a song," and I'm like, I can't wait to go back tomorrow. 5-hour round trip. for another half a song, and then you're patting yourself on the back. Boy, I worked hard today. But to have a studio in the desert, I literally can just call him up and be there in 20 minutes, and that includes
2 hours.
Oh, it's joyful, and he's a great guy, and I feel so lucky that I found this guy because, I used to work with Steve Reed, and I went to his studio, and I remember one morning spending the night at Steve Reed's studio. He's so funny. He put a grass hula skirt on, and he had a hammer. He says, "I'm ready to go to work, Mr. Donato." and a fez. He had a fez on.
Oh my God.
How funny.
And
Man was literally a genius.
he was a genius.
And I
cool.
just, oh
Except-
man,
That's
I
cool.
missed him.
He was in the Rippingtons, you guys.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
He was
Alright.
the percussionist that was in that cage in the Rippingtons. And
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But when I recorded his studio, he was such an eccentric, and he did it to make me laugh. But he had a coconut bra, grass skirt, and a hammer in his hand, and the fez. And he said, "I'm ready to go to work," and I'm waking up in the studio on a futon, which I said to my wife, because I knew the stories about some of the guys in the Rippingtons and Dreamscapes. I said, "I'm never going to be one of those guys that spends all night in a studio. I'm a city gent. I'm going to drive back every night." And there I am for a whole week there with beard stubble and a guy waking me up with a hammer and a fez skirt. And a grass skirt.
And all those stories you can tell about when you were on the road with him. Boy.
Oh boy! And you know what? I do love the man so much. Steve Reed is so creative, and
Mhm.
oh boy, he's very gracious to his musicians, almost too much. He gives everybody the spotlight, but I just hope that your listeners can discover the elevate too. I started the CD when the pandemic started. I thought I'm going to come through this with a work product that I can be proud of. And I literally put my head down and did 9 songs, and I waited for Greg Manning for the 10th song, and finally he was available and we did it. But I did this whole product during the pandemic, and other than just doing the CD, it felt so great to be able to hire your friends during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
I felt,
Yes.
calling Tony Moore and Daryl Williams, it felt so good to be able to, from your humble corner of the world, to at least hire them for some things. And then just hoping. I noticed at the tail end of the pandemic, boy, everybody, even Ray had a CD out. Everybody had a CD. It was called Return of Ray Mack.
Oh, it was called Noisy Chair.
Since y'all was talking about River Dancing and Clark, have y'all seen that commercial? That's the Geico commercial.
Yes.
Oh boy, I love to see that. Every time it come on, I'm like this. I'm just glued to it because boy, they be getting off. Then the people downstairs, well, they talking, they knowing, they making all the noise upstairs.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I
but-
love. That's how some of that sounds. That clogging.
Yeah. But if you had something real cloggers on that, boy, that'd set it more off.
Yeah.
We
No,
had so
these
much
people
fun.
would move.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So
But
it's,
Will, there's some questions in the
Yes.
comment section. Christy, can you see them?
Yes. One,
This is
Wanda.
Wanda.
Love
Wanda,
Squad.
Wanda.
Love Squad says hello.
Okay, Wanda.
Hi,
And
baby.
Michelle, and our Michelle from San Antonio.
The
She
world's
says,
greatest.
Yes, she says, tell us about the Love Squad coffee mugs and how can we purchase?
Oh yeah.
Well-
Yeah.
You know what? My wife said we're changing it. We're gonna. She thought, we need to make it. We're gonna call it the Groove Squad from here on out because, we think that they'll have the Love Squad on the back, but we don't want to exclude any manly men like Ray Mack. I don't want Ray Mack to have to wear a Love Squad T-shirt.
I thought you were going to say, what's love got to do with it?
But I know Ray will wear a Groove Squad T-shirt. He'll wear a Groove Squad. Yeah. See, I figured that. He's got a lot of testosterone, so I got to put that in the fabric. you guys are cheerful. But
So should they wait on purchasing those? Because 2 people inquired, both Michelle and Wanda mentioned those mugs.
You know what? Coffee does taste better in a Will Donato mug. I don't know the chemistry of it.
There's just something about it, huh?
Something
Yeah.
about it.
About it.
Yeah.
And but But
How
you know
about
what?
hot chocolate? Does it make hot chocolate taste better?
Tea.
It does. Oh,
Okay.
love it.
What about tea and cream? I
But
drink
you know,
tea and cream.
let me read. I got a special going. Let me read this carefully. It says if your name is Michelle or Wanda, the mugs are complimentary. It's right here. If your
And how
name is
about your sister
Wanda
over here?
and Joyce and G,
Okay.
it says complimentary. And
No,
my
well,
producer,
I don't drink coffee or chocolate. I drink tea with cream. So
Oh,
my wife does too.
Moi.
My wife does too.
yeah, well, that's
Excuse moi.
the way the English drink it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
That's right.
My wife
And
loves it.
McFarland is English. Okay.
Right.
But see, we can't do that. Us smooth jazz guys, we have to keep our girlish figures to fit in those skinny jeans.
This
And
is
G-
that Tom Brown talked about.
Yeah, that
You
was
know-
funny on
and
last
G, you know
night.
that's true. We gotta keep our girlish figures for the skinny jeans.
Max
Man.
said no comment.
Especially when you're like me and you're over 21.
Right?
I'm over 18.
All right, now Joyce, you know what? Joyce is gonna look. Joyce isn't aging; she's cuting.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
But, well, you know, I have a question though. Joyce, I really enjoy your flute playing. I'm not kidding you. I literally have 2 hours in the car, and I just can look. I look up everywhere. I discovered a flute player that I adore now, Alexander Zonchek. You know, because I was so busy, you know, doing Althea and Reagan's music and listening and Reagan
They're great.
and Kim Scott and of course Hubert and Dave Valentine. But
You ought to listen to Bobby Humphrey.
I love Bobby Humphrey. Oh,
Yes.
and you can go back further than that. Frank West.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
He was playing flute in big bands, but I really like your flute playing, Joyce. I really enjoy
Thank
it.
you. I
She's
appreciate
awesome.
that.
Yes.
It sounds like are you playing a Yamaha, or what do you play?
Oh gosh, I forgot the brand.
That's
I was
now
just
that's
next to the brand.
that's a laid back. See that
It's not a Yamaha, and it's not a professional horn. It was
It
just
sounds
what I could
great.
afford.
But you sound great live when you
Thank you.
play. It cuts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm so fascinated by flute players that actually can show up like a sax player and just play because it doesn't have a lot of dynamic range. So you know when you play live after you put your horn sax down, that thing is like,
Yeah.
oh, here we go.
Mhm.
But
I know. It's between the sax and the flute, the only thing you have to the thing about the flute, because I play jazz flute, the aperture is a little looser
yeah,
and you do a lot of stuff
Yeah. Stuff.
and then when it's time to play canon in D, you
Yeah.
go, oh, that's too harsh. I have to think sweet
Gotta soften
and
it up.
light. It's like, okay, I go from this to this.
Or
you know, so
Dance.
Well, I'll
yeah,
tell
I
you.
have to sometimes go, okay, I'm playing canon in D right now. The no harsh tones. It's just like when you were Christmas Christmas morning,
Yeah,
Renaissance. That's different than when you're playing your jazz flute.
it is.
And
No, it
it's
really is.
so beautiful though. And I think in a way, when listening to your Renaissance and listening to your flute, your alto flute, I'm reminded how beautiful that instrument is, how versatile
Mhm.
it is. You know,
the alto flute. You're
well,
talking about-
all flutes, whether it's flute. I've never done jazz alto flute. I've tried it once when I was in college, excuse me, and I don't know if you can do jazz alto flute. I just don't.
You-
but I
you
know you can
can.
do flute.
Well, I have a confession. I've never said this on an interview before, but so when I got back into flute, it was kind of related to the throat cancer because I finally realized at 10:30 at night, gee, let me relax. Let me get a really loud alto out and play some David Sanborn at 10:30 at night.
Mhm.
Ah! And I thought, this is not relaxing. And all our friends that play piano and they can serenade and they can accompany themselves and the guitar players. And there I'm cutting glass with an alto at 10:30 at night. Well, this is relaxing. Wah!
But the flute,
It's meditative. And
Yeah.
and I'm not facing east, I'm facing west, but it is meditative. And but the reason why I got into alto flute is when I got back into flute, I did not realize there's 5 million flute brands, Joyce.
yeah.
5 million YouTube things with everybody telling you how to play. So I thought, alto flute I can understand the terrain. There's only 8 manufacturers, so I can have a good chance of figuring out without having that regret syndrome that I didn't buy the right one. And then I went on that web, and there's only like about 30 alto flute videos, and I thought, this is understandable for me. I can get on here and enjoy it and understand the feel. But the regular flute thing, I didn't. Everybody gave me a different opinion. And the one guy goes, you really need a $20,000 gold flute to sound good. And back to the thing where I prefer living indoors, Diana Donato. I can't sell the $20,000 flute to my wife when she has a $15,000 car.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
But sincerely, and then you put on Nelson Rangel and you go, maybe I could just melt my flute into jewelry,
They are quite expensive, and that's what happened to me because I just plan to play my saxophone, and I just went to the music store and I said, okay, this will work. It's in my budget,
You sound great.
And people are surprised when they find out it's not a professional flute. It's so not popular that I forget the name of my own flute, and make me get up and go look for it.
But you know what? But I like that. You know why I like that? Because there's a sax player that I adore that I go, what kind of mouthpiece you playing on? Gosh, I really don't even know. I got cases around here of mouthpieces, and my wife goes, why do you need 5 of the same one? Well, let me tell you. I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
I say passionate. She likes to say I'm obsessive.
Passionate.
But
She's trying to keep you to the budget, huh?
I like that. You really. I just thought you had a. I thought you had a high number Yamaha or the Haynes Powell flute. But you sound really great. It's
not a fancy flute. My friend, she's a saxophone player out of Fort Worth, Rochella, and she thought it was a professional horn too. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, it's just not.
That's
so
interesting.
I guess I'll just stick to it. I think what happens, because I have like a $600-700 mouthpiece.
Yeah, that always makes it better.
Jody Jazz on my alto.
Oh yeah.
And I realized I need a backup mouthpiece, but I can't afford I don't want to spend another $600-700. So I said, well, let me.
Get a
I had 2 or
Van
3 rubber mouthpieces, and they played just fine. And you know what I changed? I changed the reed.
I'm telling you,
It's
Van Doren.
weird. Everything is weird.
Yeah.
So when you say, oh, you can take advice from people, but it still may not work for you because the reed I play with, my friend, saxophone player Rob, he can't play with the reed that I play with.
Wow.
And
That's
I play
very
with a synthetic reed
I
now.
do too.
And,
I got my life back when I was using wood reeds.
mhm.
It just drives you nuts. And I've seen our banner artists backstage. They put like 30 reeds out, and they pick one out, and that thing lasts 2 weeks. And I'm like, I got a reed that says Colorado, 2018. Okay, all right.
I'm not the only one.
I have a reed that says B, which means brunch. It means I can play soft. And then if I see a pro player and I go, I gotta put a hard reed on now. I gotta show out a little bit. Jesus. And the synthetic reeds, they actually enable you to dial your evening in. Some days I just want to go in and play the melody, and I'm happy with that. I'm fine. I have a chill reed. You can do that with synthetics, but I don't want to lose anybody in the audience because you and we could get in the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I
man.
know. Let's talk about your music.
Yeah.
You really
Well,
sound great.
I wanted to ask.
Great on your
Play
flute,
another
though.
one?
Yeah.
Another one,
I have
Jerry?
just one
Okay.
quick
Sure.
thing, real quick. Well, when you were still with Bamboo Forest, and when you came to San Antonio, one of the times that you guys were playing at the jazz festival, you were asking our opinion about the mouthpiece. Should I use this one or this one?
Oh wow!
And
Backstage
remember-
we did that.
Yeah, I remember when you played one that was a little bit softer, it was more mellow with the tone, and the other one was a little bit more high pitched.
Yeah.
I said, okay, for when you do the recording, do this one. For live, do this one because it's going to be louder for the people to hear, and it's more clear for the sound to go through. And so, because I remember that he was asking us that, and I said, yeah, this will be recording. This is live. Go.
Well, my dear pal Jack Cohen, he's such a creative guy, and sometimes I tell them, for recording like a radio single, Joyce and Ray and Gary, you really want it to be buttery and smooth, and just make sure. I'm actually kind of envious of the guys that can use the same setup, between their recording. I always have to make slight adjustments to make sure I really get it to speak right, but live, all bets are off. I want to, peel paint on the back wall,
I heard that.
Yeah.
Because there you are on stage, like G said, and but I'm really focused on getting that sound in the studio. When I was younger, I didn't understand what other older horn players would say. This one really prints really well. I think it prints really well. What the heck are you talking about? Because you don't want the microphone. Like my microphone here in my little studio here. If I bring out my gigging mouthpiece, my mouthpiece goes, "No, don't do that to me, please. Go away." No. Because I can be really aggressive, and I'm not trying to be not technical. I can put a soft reed on and all that, but like you said, Joyce, you might take your hard rubber mouthpiece. You're still going to sound like Joyce, no matter what you play. But if you can implement the melody easier with a better setup, it's a lot more. You increase your odds of getting on watercolors and getting airplay.
Right.
You got, I'm being flippant, silly, but you got to have a nice, pleasing sound, and it's sound is everything. But I'm very fascinated by this, so this might be a rabbit hole. We might want to move on.
Okay, now we're ready for some music.
But
right,
Will, I wanted to ask you, Will, because really, really enjoyed watching your show last night. You had your guest Tom Brown on and everything, and when you was talking a little bit earlier about the flute and everything, I noticed that there was a segment where you were playing one of the flutes. I think it had a curvature of the mouthpiece.
Yeah.
The alto.
That's the alto.
That's the one.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, that was really cool. It was the first time I actually really, really took notice of that style of a flute there. I never saw that before.
It's kind of cool because, I just adore the flute. It's like open up this whole window, Joyce and crew, about classical. I used to play clarinet when I started, and saxophone is tough to revisit classical music. It all just ends up sounding like, to me, My Three Sons. Hey, Diana, you want to hear this classical on the alto saxophone? Not really. How about a flute? Yeah. It just translates to flute, so it opens up this world to me. Tonight I already look forward to my drive. I'm thinking about doing a holiday seat next year called Classic Christmas, where it's more classical, just because I enjoy it. But and there's a harpist that lives out here, Lori Andrews, and I'd like to incorporate her, or Marie Antoinette, give her a ring.
Do a Hallelujah chorus arrangement, instrumental.
Yeah.
That would be too cool.
Yeah, but I would do it because it's just interesting, and you're only good at things you love. But so the alto flute to me, but I have fun with a flute. When I was playing my CD party, no, actually I was playing with a friend, Terry Woolman, at his Christmas party. Pardon me. And Ron Powell from Kenny G's band was playing percussion, and he's the greatest guy, and he's so buff, and I started having fun with him in the beginning because we're friends, but I said, "Are you on steroids again?" And I just started just hitting him hard. And then in the middle of the show, I went up to Ron Powell because he's wearing a tank top, he's so buff, and this is me, Hello. And I went up to him, and I made him double over, but I went up to him and I said, "Ron, honestly, does this flute make me look too masculine?" And he goes, "Oh, well."
Isn't it interesting? Like, the flute is a dainty instrument,
Yeah.
but it's okay for many years before we were even born for men to play flute. But unfortunately, the saxophone, it didn't translate from a man to woman being the same in playing it. If that makes any sense at all. Did I make any sense?
I
mean, if a man picks up a flute, it's still masculine.
Yeah, well, I'm fascinated.
Uh-oh, I'm freezing. Can you hear me?
Yes. We heard you perfect.
Okay.
I have a couple buddies that are my flute gurus, and I have to rein myself in because I don't want to just barrage them with. I still have a million questions. So when my flute gurus call me, we talk, I have to just really like settle down because I want to ask them everything. But flute is a lot like golf. You change one little thing and everything opens up. You know, I was joking about all the flute players on YouTube. You know, like sax, there's like 6. Just put it in your mouth and blow. All right, good night. But flute, you know, you got 5,000 students and teachers going, okay, blow the air up towards the ceiling. We don't have that in the saxophone. Just put it in your mouth and blow. And get the directions to the show from somebody, you know, like.
But even in recording, because you when you play higher notes, the string goes up. You have to make sure your mic placement is, you know, that can accommodate all that. Direction of the mic towards the foot and not the head, and a little bit above. All those little things. There's a lot to think about.
I think you and I could play our saxophone with our mouthpiece upside down and probably make it through a song, and we'd be okay.
And that's another.
No.
And that was another question I wanted to ask. Is there like some kind of correlation between people that play sax, that all sax players play flute too, or is it just a coincidence? Or
I have a theory about that. Now I'm always jealous. Now that I'm older, I'm jealous with even the stigma of the male flute player. I'm actually jealous of my friends that majored in flute in college. I'm thinking, how wonderful would that have been to have the repertoire and that whole process, and because I listened to a lot of Hubert Law's interviews in the car, and to hear him talk about when he was a sax player in the Crusaders at the beginning.
oh, okay,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
He was a sax player before Wilton.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then he just wanted to do flute, and he did the whole Juilliard thing. But you know, I'm so envious of my buddies like Nelson, and I have a buddy, Wally Larson. They were flute players in college, and I'm thinking, God, that would have been awesome for me just to have the repertoire, you know. And so I'm coming to the game lately, but you know, I just, you know, Hubert
But
Law.
obviously, it's not too late if you came in late, because you sound great. Oh, did I rhyme? But anyway.
You know, I'm fascinated by it. I mean, it's my buddies out here in the desert all golf, and I said, I don't need to golf. I have flute. You know, okay, hold the right hand up a little higher. Okay, wait a minute, are you talking about golf? No, I'm talking about flute. You know? You got the grip over here. You know, it's every subtle thing is everything on the flute, and it
is. And to add to that, Gary, there are certain fingerings, one octave, that are very similar to the saxophone.
Oh, yes.
But the higher register it's a whole new instrument.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a whole new instrument. So some of the fingerings, but as far as the embouchure, is totally different. Like he was saying, totally different. Because not only have to worry about your embouchure, you have to worry about your aperture, which is in the center.
It's all.
Yeah.
And how, because if you're too relaxed on certain notes, the note will drop. And that's why flute players warm up, to remind, so they can have good muscle memory, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Because that aperture will get you every time. Because on a saxophone, you can add an octave key that will get you to the next octave. But on the flute, there's no octave key. It's all in the aperture, and the way you direct it, that will get you to the next octave, and then the next octave.
It's a little bit like trumpet. A little bit like trumpet is like that. You know, it's
Oh,
a little
yeah.
trumpet. But here's the thing about the flute. Everything Joyce said is 100% accurate, and then tomorrow's a whole new day. Well, what happened? I was good yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why we warm up, Gary. That's why no one wants to just play cold, because sometimes you just have to have just warm. You'll hear even brass players do slow warm ups, because that can happen. And when you're switching horns, you're hoping like, okay, brain, get this. You're on the flute now. So
what I love about the flute, though, and even a manly man like Gary and Ray, if you can just kind of sneak it into your room and the ladies aren't around, it's probably one of the few instruments that if you just said, I'm going to do this for 20 minutes, I don't even care what's going to come out, it's as good as meditating.
Oh,
you
yeah.
Breathe in and out, and you put it down and you do feel better. I mean, Ray, like if you got like a Bobby Humphries album, I'm going to learn Summertime. Will and Joyce are talking about, because you can get a flute for $150.
Right.
It's fine.
you can get a plastic flute too.
Yeah, but there's something about it that, and it's so damn
It's
challenging.
It's sexy.
And it's sexy. And,
Yeah, I love the
It is.
sound of it. I love the sound.
Yes.
So I was gonna specialize in alto flute. I was really, and that's all I was playing out
That
for
sounds
about.
good to me.
But then when I started listening to Nestor Torres and Dave Valentine and that that Latin stuff that goes real high and it's real cheerful,
Mm-hmm.
I go, the flute's still trying to go hello.
You're so funny.
And
Yeah.
I was trying to transpose it, and the thing is just, I'm not going any higher than this. All right. But that real nice Latin stuff just bounces like a ball up there, and I thought,
Yep.
and I had a dear friend from back east. It's a long story, but I had a flute that I was going to kind of restore, and I just thought I was going to be Joe alto flute guy, so I sold it. So I sold it to this gentleman. I've never told the story on the air, and I kind of like said my goodbyes to it because I thought, well, I'm an alto flute guy, and all of a sudden, after I sold it to this gentleman, I got a box that came back in the mail, the same box that I sent the flute to, a silver flute.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, and I could tell this guy was very passionate. He's also like a real great player and a collector too. I said, Diana, why am I getting the same box back? And I just sold this guy a flute. It was one of those triangular boxes from the post office.
Yeah.
And I go, I wonder if this nice man just renovated my flute for me and I'm getting it back. So I open up this thing, and you guys, there's a new flute case in there.
What?
And I go, well, maybe he put my old flute in a new case. And then the cover. Then I took the cover out, and there's a new flute case inside, a French case. And I go, well, maybe he bought me a cover and a new flute case, and my flute's going to be in there when I open it up renovated. He sent me a new flute back.
Oh, wow.
Because he felt bad because he did get it. It's not his fault. When you put stuff on eBay and you let it go and you got to let it go, he got a really nice deal. But I'm a joyful person, and I've gotten good deals, so I have to sell it. You bid on it, you got to sell it. I got a new flute from this guy back in, and that started me to play regular flute.
Wow.
And
Wow.
now he's my flute guru. But I was shocked when I get the same exact wacky looking box back. I go,
Mm-hmm.
Diana, why do I have a flute case box back? I did not know it because I'm not one of those guys that when he gets an endorsements just wants everything free. I like it. I want to invest in the company. I'll take if you give me an artist discount, that's fine. But
Right.
I'm not going to profile for something free. You got to, and
But if they send it to you for free, you're not going to return it, right?
yeah. So he felt he got such a good deal that he sent me another flute. For him, it was probably just one of the many beautiful flutes that's in inventory. But we're real close friends now, and I call him like one of my flute gurus. But I was so charmed by that, and I was really touched,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
And I got to play it now, and I play that flute.
Because I know that people want to hear some of the music.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm gonna just get out for a second. I hear some doggy scratching on my door, and I don't want him to start barking.
So what are we playing next, Gary?
Okay, we're gonna go into the Elevate CD. So,
He's walking.
yeah, that's fine.
Wait, just a minute, Will.
He's
Will?
fine. He's fine.
Get him back. Get him back.
Okay.
That's fine.
Well,
Yeah.
we can still see him.
Yeah. We're gonna go into his Elevate CD. We played the entrance of it at the beginning before we came on. So I'm gonna go ahead and start that back, and then we'll come back and return once we get him back and stuff. So for everyone, just stay tuned, stay locked in, and we'll be right back right here on the Indie Live Spot featuring Mr. Will Donato. Keep it locked.
He
Don't matter what you take.
You guys have such a good group charisma. I'm really having fun with you guys. I'm trying to keep up with all these beautiful faces here.
All
We got a
right.
hot chick-
Well, we are
the
back.
ocean.
We are back, and man, that was some wonderful music you just got through hearing from our guest, Mr. Will Donato. That was awesome.
Thank you.
That was so awesome. Yeah.
It was a really fun project. You know, three of the cuts on there were produced by Greg Manning.
Oh,
And,
really?
you know, I felt like, you know, I have this technique. I tend to sort of do the radio singles first, and I go, I better put this together in a collection. they have to land somewhere.
Yeah.
Right?
But you know, I felt like I could stand taller because I had 3 songs to start the collection that were polished up radio songs. So that kind of makes you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And something I learned from Steve Oliver is sometimes I just like to have artistic tunes on the back half of the CD. So I did Hubert Law's "It Happens Every Day."
Hey,
I love that tune. I did it with a reggae vibe with JJ Sansaverino.
Oh, nice.
That's fun. Okay.
And I
Yeah.
always wanted to do, Ray, you probably relate to this, "Stolen Moments" from Oliver Nelson.
mm-hmm.
And I just love that melody. But man, I don't know if the listeners didn't hear us, but I'm just blown away that Ray got to see Coltrane. I'm gonna have to take a good look at you, Ray.
See, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing, Will. That you know,
I love that, dude.
growing up in Oklahoma back in the day, there used to be nothing but artists that's come through there
Yeah.
a lot. And I'm gonna throw this plug in there. Oklahoma is getting ready. I'm on the board of it. Is getting ready to do the National Jazz Legacy Museum in Oklahoma City.
Wow.
And because it's a lot of history of jazz that's there.
Mhm.
And like I said, you know, Charlie Christian, he's from Beaumont, but he lived in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Back in the old Deep Deuce days, right?
Yeah, back in Deep Deuce days and stuff like that. All the artists used to come on Deep Deuce, come through there.
Don't tell me you saw Stanley Turrentine, or I'm gonna. Did you see Stanley Turrentine?
I have seen Stanley Turrentine.
No. Okay, that's it.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
Well, see,
John Coltrane, I was a baby when.
I know.
see,
Yeah, just,
see, I'm telling you my age now, right?
Yes,
No,
my
you know what? You're an OG, and I like that. And Joyce just found out about Dave Koz and Mindy. That's how young she is.
I know, right? I didn't know who Mindy Egbick was. Mm-mm.
You're too young.
But Oklahoma does have a lot of history of jazz. Plus, Tulsa also do too. You have a lot of artists that come out of Muskogee, Oklahoma. You have people that write, and I can't remember all their names, write for Downbeat and Jazz Ears.
Wow.
You know, but it's a lot of history right through that area.
Wow. I would, God, I wish I could have been having a beer with you at some of those shows. I just loved, you know, it was always shocking to me when I was a young student in Los Angeles, where, you know, in a world of pop music, where pop artists can fill like the Staples Center, you know, a guy chewing bubble gum with, you know, and then it's like, you know, Ray and I are going to go down and see, you know, Sonny Stitt in Los Angeles, and you go in there and there's 10 people in there, and you don't
Right.
understand it. And I'm not, you
Right.
know,
It happens.
but you know what? You know, it's funny because I heard a story where Wynton Marsalis was talking to this interviewer, and he was telling his dad used to take him to those gigs. Ellis Marsalis, he would take him to those gigs like a Hyatt hotel, and he knows his dad is a jazzer, because all that, and Wynton was just still coming up a little bit, and he goes, "Hey, Dad, why do you do these gigs? No one's listening." He goes, "You like to eat? You like clothes?"
You know,
But what I want to hear about is Cloud 9. I
Ah,
love that track.
that makes me happy.
Yeah, let's talk about Elevate, because Elevate is really nice, and I didn't realize that one on flute was a cover from Hubert Laws, though. But tell us about Cloud 9. That's really a nice, smooth funk groove going on there.
Well, I have a secret message hidden in this CD, and it means a lot to me. I love David Sanborn and I love Grover.
Mm-hmm.
Two of my songs were basically me saying, okay, you know, Joyce, we're national artists. I think that we can't just go out and, hi, I'm Joyce Cooling. I'm going to do a song from Althea Renee. And we love her, and she's amazing. But
Yeah.
we could do something from Motown. We can do something from Bobby Humphrey. But our pals, like, hi, I'm going to do a song from, Riley Richards. Well, you're Will Donato. Why don't you do Will Donato stuff? Well, I like the song,
Right.
You sort of can't do that, but you can go back, like with Ray's guy, you can go back to Turrentine. But I love Sanborn so much, but I thought, I'm a national act. I've got to do stuff that has, you can do a cover. My pal Jack Cohen and I just love our conversations about song selections and melody. So I actually took Cloud Nine. There's a song from David Sanborn called Heba. But it was like one of those.
Oh yeah.
One of those. And I thought I want one of those.
When you did that, I remember. Now I know which song it is.
And I want to do a song like that. I want one of those. And then Beyond Forever is a beautiful ballad I wrote for my wife, but it kind of inspired me from the song that he had on his very first record called Blue Night. And sometimes it's like, Joyce, if you like a song from Hubert Laws, I really want a song that's kind of like what's the song like? What's the song he does with Bob James?
Maputo?
Yeah, I want something like Maputo, but I want to do my own Joyce Cooling thing. So you got something like
Joyce Cooling, thank you.
Yeah, Joyce Spencer. Sorry about that. Oh my God, I was just talking about Joyce Cooling with a friend, and I had that on my brain. But you can bring your own spin.
I know, right?
But it's funny because it's like when I write a funk tune, I'll kind of hear something that I want. It could be something from Bobby Humphrey, and I'll go, okay, I want that.
Yeah.
Then guess what? You get to make money off your publishing because you're not doing all covers only on your albums.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not considered a lounge act if you come out and you just do 7 Marvin Gayes and here's a song I wrote, one, and but I had two that I thought I want the spirit of Sanborn in these two songs that have that kind of energy. So does that make sense?
You did it.
Yeah.
It definitely has that kind of energy. I love Cloud Nine.
Yeah, Cloud Nine is great.
Patrick, I want to ask a question. I want to make a comment. Since you're out there in the California area, on the West Coast and all that, you ever heard of John Handy?
I love John Handy.
John Handy is my uncle.
Really? He's great.
Really?
What's that song? Make It Work or
Make It Work.
That song? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that guy. You know what? There's a lot of royalty out here. Like Buddy Collette and rest in peace now. But there's so much royalty out here that's just. And even the contemporary people, you can throw a rock and hit Paul Brown. There's just Roberto Vallis, Brian Culbertson, Brian Simpsons. That they're just like New York. They're all out here and but,
well, it's just like he was born in Texas, but also he's right there in the Bay Area, San Francisco, and he's I think John is he's about 87 years old now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does he still play?
He still play every now and then. He was on the record Terry Hut label at one time.
Oh wow! I know. I love his stuff. I
Sometimes I forget about it.
Wow. So how are you related? How are you related to him?
Well, it's through my grandfather. Robert Handy. And like I said, we got family all out there in the Bay Area. Cornelius Handy, Cornelius is gone now. His daughter's still out there, but we got a lot of relatives in Mazette and San Diego and stuff like that.
Okay, you said your grandfather, but grandfather from your mom's side or grandfather from your dad's side?
This is on my mom's side.
Okay. I think that's what Will meant. It's like.
Oh, okay.
I was just gonna let it go.
It's on my mom's side.
You know what?
Mom's side.
That's what I like about conversations like this. If you and have a long form conversation. Now I have something I can check out on my drive, just to listen to some of his music. You know, it's funny because my friend's like, "What do you do when you drive for 2 hours?" I go, "I listen to podcasts and music." I said,
Right.
when you're married, you can't just go, "Hey, honey, can I ignore you for 2 hours so I can listen to new Joyce? I want to listen to Joyce Spencer's new album. Can I just tune you out for 2 hours and put headphones on?" Yeah, let's do that.
Telling the truth. I
You
can
know-
drive longer when I'm by myself than when I'm with other people because I know how to entertain myself and distract myself.
Yeah, yeah.
But I take so much ribbing from my buddies. They just, you know, and sometimes like I'll be in Newport Beach. You're gonna drive all the way back to Palm Springs, and my thought bubble is actually like, you know, Hubert Laws, a podcast, a Starbucks every 40 miles. You know, that's, I'm thinking, do you think this is bad?
Well, you know, driving, you know, it's gonna relax you. You know, it's gonna, you know, it's a chore to driving. You know, this and that, but you can stop and relax and listen to the music. Hell, you can't do that on a plane.
Oh.
Before
Well, you can
go.
drive for 2 hours with your own entertainment, like Will
Right,
said.
right,
You
yeah,
bring,
right.
you know, I can sing out loud. I don't have to worry about anybody else.
Mhm.
And, you know, because, you know, we drove 12 hours to my Colorado Springs gig in February. And
Well,
we,
see-
my husband and I, we enjoyed it. And I wasn't by myself, but it was
Yeah.
great.
Mhm.
Well, you know, I went to Savannah, Georgia, just me and my grandson.
I
And,
love
you
Savannah.
know,
Oh, I love Savannah.
You know, we listen to Wild Colors, we listen to real jazz and things like that. You know, I'm orientating them to get into the jazz area and stuff like that. You know, instead of all that hip hop. You know, hip hop's all
Yeah,
right.
but I have to interact. I don't know, Will, I don't know if you do. I have to interact when I'm by myself. I interact with the music. I sing along. And, you know, and that's just listening. Exactly, Chris. Just
Yeah.
listening to smooth jazz. I might.
Put you to sleep.
Oh no, Joyce, no.
I gotta
no.
bring
Oh,
some
me, I have
funk
to
in
do a
there.
little more
I
peppy
gotta
if I'm
start
driving.
jamming a little bit. Hey.
You know what, Ray? I have to report Joyce for that last comment.
Because I don't need to get relaxed. You know, I can listen to Cloud Nines, the Cloud Nines.
Yeah.
But
But,
if
you know-
you know, like what's Kenny G's Forever in Love? What's the name of it?
Forever in Love. Yeah.
And Songbird. I love them because I have them both on my playlist when I do covers for certain shows, especially weddings, and I love them. But if I had to listen to that
Yeah.
for an hour of driving, I will get too relaxed, and I don't want to get that relaxed. So I have to bump in some Cloud Nine. You know
Well, I'll
what
tell
I-
you what. What's funny is on the long drive, if let's say you have a version of People Make the World Go Round, let's say Joyce has a version. On that drive, I can go, okay, cool. Oh, that's cool. I wonder if Walter Beasley's got one. I can sit there and listen. Don't want to frighten you with my obsessiveness, but how fun is it that I can go, well, that's a sexy one from Joyce. Let me see if Walter's got one. And sure enough, boom, ba, ba, ba.
Uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden, I'll go back to the stylistics. I'll go, okay, wow, okay, that's the. Oh wow, Alexander Zonchek has a version. I mean,
Right.
you can. It's,
But
I
you're
can.
still
I can
switching.
listen. Yeah, I'm switching,
You're
but I can.
still- that's my
yeah.
point. Just to
Okay.
listen to one thing like this, and like I gotta switch.
Yeah.
I gotta switch. You know. So, but
Yeah.
but that's cool. But what didn't Gary you play another song before Cloud Nine?
Yes. Well,
What was the other one?
well, the first one was Elevate, and then
Oh, Elevate.
yeah,
Okay.
then it went into Cloud Nine, and then
Okay.
and then we ended with You
I
Got
didn't
This.
get Elevate. I didn't get Elevate, so I didn't get
You
to
know
listen.
what?
to that.
I just realized I have a third Sanborn influence song. There's a song called Lotus Blossom, written by Don Grolnick, a keyboard player that plays with James Taylor.
Mm.
And I thought, okay,
Mm-hmm.
you can't do it on saxophone. It's just, you know, you don't remake What Is Hip unless you bring it totally a different way or something like that.
Mhm.
And I thought, I'm going to do Lotus Blossom with a flute. That way no one can say, well, Sanborn's was a lot better. Because nobody
Okay.
did Lotus Blossom on flute. And
Yeah.
the rhythm section on this, Roberto Valli on bass, Tony Moore on the drums, a guy from Nashville, Michael Whitaker. The way the rhythm section plays on Lotus Blossom is just amazing, Ray. You got to check it out. There's
That's an amazing That was an amazing track. I really enjoyed that one.
Mhm.
Oh, and also my favorite percussionist, Joyce. You got to call this guy. He's so amazing. Curtis McCain. What you do
Yay,
project?
Curtis.
This is my Curtis is on every song in this record,
Okay.
and he's on my holiday single. I will not do a radio single from now on without Curtis. His artistry is.
It's great, isn't it?
He's a new young buck. He's a new
Mhm.
young buck, and when you record Joyce, I know we all have fingers and the thing and the shaker with the thumb and like, oh boy, here we go. A human being that understands stereo panning and all that
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. He's really amazing, and he's humble, and you get your stuff so organized. I tease him, because he really knows his percussion, so I'll get something that's called the shakery or something.
Mhm.
I go, are you starting to just make up names? Just I made him laugh, and then I made Gina laugh too. I go, I think Curtis is just making up names now. It's just,
Let me ask you.
he's so creative.
Are you
He's
in
so
the-
creative. I
Are
love
you
him.
in the are you in the Palm Spring guy? And
Yeah, we say, we say Palm Springs, but I'm actually in La Quinta. But sometimes in LA, if you say La Quinta, then you got to go through like the whole MapQuest thing. Well, if I say Palm Springs, they go, okay, good, I know that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I have a friend there. He's a percussionist, and he played on. His name is Trey Balfour. He toured around with the Lion King.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I think he played for 5, 6, 7, 8 years or better with Michael Bolton on tour with him. He's a hell of a percussionist.
I've not heard that name.
Mhm.
Trey Balfour.
Palm Springs is really funny because there's all these entertainers that live out here, and there's half of them like, oh, did you know Stallone is selling his house over at Bighorn? I didn't know he was out here. Oh, Obama's buying a house in Rancho Mirage. And it's just kind of cool, and you'll see people walking around. I mean, it's not like Hollywood, but a lot of folks come out here just to go on the down low, and I love it out here though. It feels like you're on a cruise ship out here. I tell people, what's Palm Springs? I said it feels like a cruise ship. Everyone's on good behavior, because if you say something smart alecky to the busboy, that guy might be the food and beverage director at the next place you eat at. And that guy will be your boss if you're a beginning musician. And then, no, I'm being silly, but I like it out here. There's no rat race. Everyone's just, and the older folks out here are loving life. And you don't feel invisible out here either. You see older folks holding hands. They're, I hate when I see older folks feeling invisible.
Hell, I'm old. I don't feel invisible.
I know, well, you're not.
I don't feel that.
No, you are not invisible, Mac.
You know what? Joyce
You're
and
just loud.
Joyce and Griselda, they're not aging, they're cuting, and Ray Mack is handsoming.
Don't leave Gary out.
And Gary too. And Gary, Gary.
I'll
Gary,
just take a sip of
Gary's
water.
not even he's a young buck. Gary's a young buck.
Well, there's a comment real quick. Michelle said from Pat, because
Yeah.
if you've never heard it, check out Oliver Nelson. This is Black, Brown, and Beautiful album. For the
Ooh.
Black, Brown, and Beautiful album, Oliver Nelson.
You know what? If Pat Carey recommends it, I'm on it. I love Pat Carey.
Yeah.
He is
He's
the real
awesome.
deal.
He's an awesome bassist.
Let me tell you why I love Pat Carey. He's a spectacular musician. He is a creative musician.
Check.
It's a joy to be around, and most importantly, he had the sense to marry Michelle Garibay.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
What a duo, right? They make
Yes.
a couple.
Very
I
nice.
know they seem so youthful, and they Michelle especially too. They just seem like kids to me still. They
I
vibe,
know, right?
and they go.
Oh, I
And
love
our
this.
daughter just has a master's degree. I go, what?
I
You're
know.
not-
It's like,
You're not
what?
even 32.
Yes, how old?
Michelle's,
I remember when
Michelle's-
Michelle was like, she was still a little girl.
I know Michelle's hair isn't even 20.
I
But she's awesome.
And- That's how you're supposed to live, though. Michelle and Pat, keep it up, because I do the same thing too.
Mhm.
I'm not too old.
I know, and you know what? I don't mean to be silly, but I won't say the names. Newport Beach. I won't say the name. anybody over 30 in certain areas in Orange County, you can feel they just look right through you because you're not, 20 with abs. But out here, if you're 80, you're actually still young out here, believe it or not. Just like
I love it.
I did a show about 6 weeks ago before the last shutdown. This couple was 95 in the front row, and they weren't the kind that were like you felt sorry. They were like, these boys are just terrific, And then they loved my bass player Eddie. Well, Eddie does the Motown so good, and then I just ran into him downtown in the coffee shop, and they go, Will, and God, I thought, God, 95, and you're still out mixing it up, and they're not feeble. They're just they're like we are. They're doing errands, they're drinking coffee, and I thought, God, that's great. That's just, I mean, I love that out here.
You talking about drinking coffee? Hell, they probably drinking some brandy and some cognac. You sure believe that one.
No, that'd be you, Ray.
Huh?
Yeah.
That would be you.
Yeah, it's
just like, I'm gonna say, my grandmother, when she passed, she was like 101. She drank wine damn near every day.
I love that.
She was drinking something every day, especially wine.
Yeah.
Every day.
It's
Yeah, but
funny.
that's not brown whiskey though.
Yeah, well, I think
That's grapes.
I think her
Drinking
brother,
grapes.
I think her brother used to bring her some brandy too. Because,
It's
Well,
funny.
When we were talking off the air, and you were mentioning about how when we first met back in San Antonio when you came, and Steve Reed and before us, and that kind of made me think back of all the other stuff, and especially when we'd hang out, and you'd tell us about the road stories, you and Rogerio. Oh my gosh, Rogerio, he had me in tears.
Isn't he a sweet guy?
That guy was just too funny. He was and the way he, remember when he, I'm sorry guys, I just had to real quick.
No,
He can impersonate Steve Reed.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was going to get into that. I mean, he lost because he's from Brazil, so he had that little accent. But when he was imitating Steve Reed, that accent was gone. And he sounded exactly like Steve Reed, did the same mannerisms, facial expressions, everything.
And this guy, you guys check it out. This guy had a funny habit. When he would talk to you, he'd go, his voice volume would drop and his eyes would start flittering. So, Joyce, it's so great to be here.
Wow.
And you're like, hey Joyce, here's how you make $1 million. But this guy, he could flutter the eyes and he kind of rocked back on his feet, but no one. He had some unique qualities, but it was so funny, and he nailed it. And
yes, he did.
Huh.
we believe it. And his eyes would flutter, and he didn't make. Yeah, but he. You know what? I love Steve Reed. People don't know. Some people build people up, and some people walk over people as obstacles. But Steve always took the time to take care of business with you, and yeah,
I mean, he cared about his people that he had in the band.
I really loved him, and everyone.
He showed that. It just wasn't he walked the walk basically.
Walk the walk, and you know what? He was almost too creative for his own good. Like,
Oh, I know, right?
if we build a 90-foot ladder on, we can put the flute guy up there, and then the other. Say what? Well, we don't have a 90-foot ladder, but go ahead and just stand on those unstable boxes.
Yeah.
Okay. But,
Hey,
you know
Will.
what? I have a question for you. I'm supposed to be in the studio at 2, and I don't even know how long do we go. I didn't know.
As long as you want.
We're halfway. We're almost done.
Oh, okay, I didn't know. I thought I have to go at 2:00 because.
Right.
Now you have to leave at 2, and that is what time zone are you in?
Pacific.
So it's
Pacific.
5
Yeah.
o'clock for us.
Yeah. What I wanted to do real quick, Will, before we do let you go for today, I was wanting you to talk a little bit about some shows that you have coming up on your live stream, because we talked a little bit about that. I want you to make sure you get that information out for.
I can't wait for next week.
Yes.
You know what? You guys are so great. So I started working with this wonderful producer. Everyone knows Jack Cohen, and it's almost before even we used to do the thing in at LA Talk Radio, and for me that initially was my preference. So because if we had G or Ray or you guys were in town, we could all go hang out first, and you can kind of shoot the breeze before and have coffee, and then all of a sudden the cameras are on. This new format is unique for everybody. You guys do it really well. I still like that thing, like hugging Griselda before we go on and go, man, how are you? And then, okay, we're on.
Right.
And then after the show, we can maybe get a bite to eat or something. And I love that Jack had that show, and he was so good at it. And even the guy that owned the facility. And in LA, it was so funny to look at the wall, you guys. You guys have an intent, and it's music on the wall. Okay, Tuesday, this guy comes into the other studio and talks about fixing, Carmen Giz, and everybody in LA wants a show, and they all in this facility you can rent spaces, and they had some naughty people shows too, but that's another story.
He put his hand up.
Yeah, and comedians, comedians, NPR type people would come in, and I'm like, Sam, you have all these kind of shows here, and it was really fascinating, but. So we have a wonderful show coming up. What I was getting to is my friend Jack Cohen just had this great idea to preview CDs that come out with some content that's consumable, that's fun to do, and he said, why don't you do some shows about your holiday CD, and we'll get it out there. And this is real creative like that, and so we're having a grand finale show that's just going to be more about music the whole time, and each artist will come on real quick and introduce the show. So if Joyce was on, she could just say, hi, this is Joyce, and here's a song. And because we want people on that particular show to just be able to put the music on and hear it, the whole, like a CD. But we have Melissa Manchester, we have Alexander Zonchek, Kim Scott, Greg Manning, Phil Denny, Blake Aaron, Steve Oliver.
Awesome.
I can't say a couple of guests, but Cecil Ramirez will be on there, but there's a couple we can't say them because they're also flying to the moon and back with other people, but they're going to be on the show. You'll be very surprised who's going to appear. But you know what's funny? This is total Jack Cohen. He's just a brilliant man, and
thank you, Jack.
Yeah, Jack. Great.
You know what? I'm a curator. I like to buy people's music. Like Joyce, and I like curating other people. I don't want to just go, hey, Will Donato here. But I love saying, hey, a lot of times on Facebook I'll say, Joyce Spencer, talent deserving widest recognition. I'll just write something about people and I'll post their portals for sales. But Jack Cohen takes it to another level. He has no, agenda. He just loves music. He'll call me up a lot and we'll just talk about, hey, Will, have you heard the new Reagan Whiteside record? It's just great. And because, if you leave me alone in a room, it's just 24/7 Grover and Sanborn and a little Brecker. And then Nestor Torres, and I remember going to a music store with Steve Oliver, who's super great and eclectic, and it was called Amoeba Records. And Steve Oliver said, I'll see you in a minute, Will. Steve goes to all three levels of the thing, and he comes home with electronic music and Brazilian and world beat, and I'm still over there. Do you guys have any more Tom Scott in this section? And I'm not kidding. I was there like a half hour, and then I went over to the Hubert Law section, and I made Steve laugh. I go, I thought they only had Tom Scott music here.
Well, you see, you're a lot like I am. I love variety. Yeah. I was trained classically and grew up with Motown and jazz in New Orleans. A couple hours from New Orleans, and I have Zydeco in me. I have blues in me.
I love it. Well, that comes across on your song selections, and I watched some of your shows on YouTube where you're like at a club. And I really like the way you entertain. I really love it.
Thank you.
You know what? I like entertainers. Everybody. I know people can put their heads down and play, but you're a really good entertainer. I really love the way you. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but your eclectic nature. Your eclectic nature comes across. I love that. Your song selections are really good. Yeah, I like that.
When you get beat up so much in this business, it's just nice to hear somebody appreciate you. That's what I mean.
But you were talking about Kenny
Joyce.
You were talking about Kenny G and all that. Sometimes you have to play the room. Like tonight, we're going to do you know, Jill Scott. We're gonna do Sade.
nice.
We're gonna do some
Ooh.
Motown. We're gonna do Cool and the Gang. You know, and it is what it is, and I love it. I feel lucky to play it, and I
That's
always
great.
joke. I
I'm
always
that way too.
I tell people I played Get Down on It more than the original artist.
That's on my playlist too. Jill Scott. I was doing a private backyard gig, and
Yeah.
somebody said, "I want to hear some Jill Scott," and I was going down my iPad, the way,
Yeah,
and I
love
said,
that.
"Yeah, I got you. Just hope I remember the lyrics." And why did I say that? I loved it because you're not supposed to say that.
They love that.
But
They love
I'm
those
glad I
lyrics.
did because they got involved. They were and I was like, the audience got involved, and I did it. I sang it, and I said, "Oh, I remember," because when you have like over 300 songs
Yeah.
on your
Yeah.
backing tracks, and you haven't done one in 2 years, you're like, what
Yeah.
key was that in?
D. Like the flute. That wooden
I think
flute.
I think that was D minor. Yep, it is. Because
You-
sometimes, like you say, play the room. They said, oh, and like Mac, and we know an artist. He will not do cover tunes. He just doesn't believe in doing it.
Yeah.
But everybody has to find themselves.
Yeah.
I call myself a cover girl. I did a Sade tribute in Colorado Springs because the
I
owner of the
saw
place.
that. I saw
Yeah, he's
that.
like, "Can you do a Sade tribute?" Yes. Then I went, "Okay, how many songs do I need?"
That's awesome.
And I did. Mhm. So I just, and is it harder? Yes. But do I love it? Oh, yes, 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 yes. I love it. So, and do I love switching horns? Yes. Is it harder? Yes, because I have to carry more horns.
Yeah.
At the end of a show, I'm looking at 3 horns and wishing I were a vocalist that could just walk off the stage.
You know, it's funny. You know, I am a little funny about that. You know, when we first started and the airlines let you carry these cool cases with all 3 horns in there, like, look at me. And it was 70 pounds, and you had the little LA case with all the horns. Hey, watch out. But now, I want to have my right hand free so I can hold my Starbucks.
Hold it up. Let us see it.
I know. So
There
I
you go.
look at guys like Chris Bodie and Sanborn. They got the leather sexy horn case because it's an alto show, and Chris Bodie. And then, but then I'm like, wait a minute, Slick. 3 of your songs now are tenor. What are you gonna do?
I know.
You know, I'm
You
just
just
thinking,
play it on alto. If I'm traveling with my husband, it's easy. And the flute, I
Yeah.
learned how to bubble wrap it and put it
Yeah.
in my checked-in baggage. If you bubble wrap it real
Yeah.
tight and put it
I'm
in the
with
center,
you.
yeah,
I'm
that
with
and that works. So you find ways, and my husband has one, I have one. But usually, if I have to carry, it's my alto and my flute. Those are my 2 favorites.
it's funny because Griselda saw me when I used to play a lot of Iwi, a lot of Iwi.
Oh,
And of
you don't
course-
play it anymore?
Well, I don't want to. I don't want to sit. I don't want to sit in the land of the dead waiting for my luggage to come out. When you carry one of Starbucks, you get off the plane and you go, oh, look at those folks over there. Is there an Einstein bagel here? When you walk by the land of the living dead and you just keep walking out to your car, I'm being silly. But
Uh,
sometimes when you wait for the baggage and you wait, it's a groove killer, isn't it, Joyce? You sit
Yeah.
there.
yeah.
No, mine's
That's
a
why I
little.
don't like to fly alone. And if I'm going to perform, I'd like my husband to be with me. It makes a huge difference when he's with me. And then when we went to Colorado, and, we have plans to try. I was even going to Oklahoma, Mac, for a music festival, but that got canceled twice. So hopefully next year. Now, before you go, I want to ask. I love your backdrop, your
Oh yes. Yeah.
your banner.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is
Oh.
really nice.
You know what? I feel very lucky. Do you guys know a guy named Chase Huna, the little cool
Yes,
redheaded
I
kid?
know. I know who he is.
He's just
Right.
amazing. He's like 20 and a half right now, and
20 and a half.
because he seems like so young. But I had a chance to spend some time with him and mentor a little bit, and his dad does this stuff, and
Oh, wow.
and he's just it's so nice to have a guy. I've had some fun with it too. I said, can you make me look like I'm on Cabo right now on some show just to be funny? I mean, but I can. He's so gracious with his talents, and maybe he's appreciative that I helped his son or whatever. But I joke with him. I go, I'm ready to pay Your son is teaching me now. Do I still get banners?
But I know we're short of time, but one thing I wanted to say that listening to your music, um, um, what Gris sent to me, what you sent to us, I really enjoyed the journey, and it started up, like this Cloud 9 and something like You Got This, I think
Yeah.
the title, yeah, and then it starts to mellow and mellow.
Yeah.
Then I go to the Renaissance, and it was just such a beautiful journey. You're an amazing horn player. I love your sound
I work
on
really
the
hard at
sax.
it.
Right.
I work really hard at it.
It's really, really good. I'm like, oh wow, I forget how good this guy is.
I
You talk
I've
about
known that
Dave
for a long
Sanborn.
time.
Huh? Say it again, Chris.
I've known that for a long time that he
Yeah, I mean, you know it, and it's just like when you go back to hear Coltrane, you haven't heard him for a while, and you go, oh my God, that's
like,
right,
wow.
he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And you, but that's you too, Will. Listening to your tone, your technique, your phrasing,
Thank you
musicality,
very much.
everything was just perfect. I enjoy, and I love artists who love a variety. And I don't know what Mac is doing right now, but there's
No, I'm just
Yeah.
you think I can play these holes here?
what are you doing, Mac?
What
You see them holes? You think I can play them?
We
Yeah,
don't
I
see
like
anything.
that.
I can't. So you keep wiping out.
Oh, okay.
Because of
It
your
It
back.
looks like a
Hold on,
snake going
hold
across
on.
your head.
I know it does look. I was like, what is that?
Well, real
Hold
quick,
up.
before our time runs out, Will, one more time, tell us the time for that next show that we were talking about a little bit earlier.
It's funny. So this is what's happening with the show. We were doing Groovin' on the Fridays, but we thought, this is kind of a holiday show. We're not having, no one's having corporate parties and all that right now, but we think we're going to make it like that last 3 or 4 days before actual Christmas. So people are done virtual shopping or whatever, and you can just put it on. We want it to be like a CD where you can almost just play it.
Mm-hmm.
You
So
don't
I
have
think
a date yet?
We were going to do the 18th, but we might do the 21st. But you can go on my website,
Okay.
and I would love people, if they're checking out, get the bundle. It's really a nice bundle, and I'll sign them. And I really put a lot of love and sentiment into the CDs. But you guys, I'm telling you, I just had such a good time with you. And last time I thought I was on, I thought there was 20 people in the panel. Now there's just the 4 headliners.
We fired them.
What happened to the opening acts? Now you got just the headliners. I like it. and I noticed Ray's doesn't say Mac now. It says Max. Ray Max.
Yeah, he is at max right
Yeah,
now.
there it is.
That's what I was trying to show you. Can I play these holes here in this cane?
Oh, that's cool. Look at that.
Oh, it's your
Cool.
cane?
No, it's cane.
That's
We
good.
didn't know what that was.
It just
Oh,
looks like a
See,
snake.
can I play? You think I can play
Yes.
them holes in there as the flute?
I think you could. I know Joyce has got a good embouchure. Joyce can,
I
I'm a
also
flute owner.
come out
Joyce,
with that cane. We don't know where that cane has been.
This was at one time. That was Stella's cane, my wife's cane.
Oh.
When she used it.
Joyce, didn't you have a single called Stella's Cane? I think I did. Stella's Cane? was that your first radio? That might have been.
That sounds like a good track title.
I know.
Stella's cane.
It's intriguing.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are joy makers. Thank you. And, it's so funny. I love people so much.
I like
Yeah,
that.
I've been giving everybody good eye contact, like just looking right at you while we're talking. I'm thinking, oh, I probably look like I'm wall. Hi, how you guys doing?
No.
But when Joyce is talking, I'm just looking right at her like we're having coffee, and I realize, oh, you idiot! You're like,
Yeah, I do it all the time. I don't even worry about it.
I'm looking at
I click the
I'm looking
video.
at G like, oh, I hear what you're saying, and I'm like, oh, jeez.
Right.
We call it we got the Brady Bunch thing
Yeah, the
going.
Brady Bunch.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
So
hey,
Pup-
Gary and Ray and G and Joyce, thanks so much. You guys,
our
Thank
pleasure.
you.
you
Yeah.
guys,
It was our pleasure. We really appreciate you, coming and
I love
hanging
you
out
guys.
with us. And again,
Thank you.
really enjoyed the show last night, and
man, thank you. That's classy of you guys to do that.
definitely.
That was awesome.
Yes,
Awesome.
it was.
Now I'm like you, Will. I'm jealous. I didn't get to see it. Nobody tagged me.
You know what? Tom Brown is a sweetheart. You know, it's a kind of an interesting journey because when he got fed up with music, he didn't get dark and just go, screw it, I'm going to screw up my life. He became a commercial pilot.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that.
And real quick, I was just gonna ask you also, Will, could you just talk briefly about your label, Intervision? Because there's a lot of great folks over there.
Yep.
And a lot of them that's been over here, and I know that you guys are all great artists. But yeah, I just knew that you guys got sounds like you guys got a really good camaraderie over there.
I love the label. You know, it's so funny because we evolved as a label when everybody was a label, and you know, I felt like we were getting sand kicked in our face, and you know, all the labels were coming out, and you know, some of the, you know, even like the band artists like Cause had their labels, and Braun and Richard, and everyone, you know, came and did their thing, and they're not there, and we're still there, we're still hanging tight, you know. And it's kind of funny the way the labels run. It's kind of, I always tell people it's a label for self-starters that just are kind of in it to win it anyway.
Yeah,
you don't need to, you know, Joyce is going to make records no matter what. You just kind of light your own fires. But I like the camaraderie. We have some social events, and for everybody across the planet and the state to be able to get together at least once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Even that symbolically is cool. And we have like NAM jams and Christmas parties, and that's kind of old school, like a GRP thing.
Right.
And I'm a team guy, and you know, everybody on this screen is beyond bright enough. Everybody on this screen can figure out how to call themselves, you know, San Antonio Records or, you know, JS Records. People are smart on the screen, but I thought, I don't want to wear any more hats.
Don't blame you.
Hey,
I want to make sound out of this brass tube. I want to nuance my life force through this brass tube.
Right.
I don't want to just, you know, hey Diana, can you carry these 40 phone packs to the La Quinta post office? No.
Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But everybody we know and our extended friends are all smart enough to know what they're going to do. But you know, we got to do our own promotion. We're all video experts now, and then we got to, you know, live life. That's one thing. I'm not going to be a record label, and you know, we've got an amazing gentleman, Robert McLean, that came on with a label, and I told him I said, now we have our own millennial. Good. we have a millennial, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And you know, anything that sparkles on my brand is because of Robert. And I always tell my friends, yeah, Robert does all the smart stuff. You know, I just go to my gigs and do the best I can to entertain.
That's nice.
Yes.
You know,
That's very nice.
he does the smart stuff and does it well. But I love Intervision for that. And it's just a good, you know, Blake Aaron is kind of the papa of the label.
Yeah.
And Adam Leibowitz. They're good people.
So this is your label?
So it's Blake. Well, you know, it's Blake Aaron's label, you know,
Okay.
but it's run by Adam Leibowitz and Steve Belkin. But you know,
Okay.
it was originally Blake Aaron's, and yeah, I like the people on there. You know, we've got some young bucks like Blair Bryan, who's just a shredder, and then we've got, you know, just good people. We've got some really cool artistic people too, like Craig Sharmack, who's an extremely great writer.
Yeah.
And
They accepting new artists and things like that?
And we got Kim Scott this year. We got
Okay.
Tom Brown. We actually were in conversations to get John Clemmer, who I like John Clemmer. He was the OG smooth jazz, you know, touch, barefoot.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just, there's a lot of esprit de corps in the label, and there's a lot of good friendships too. When you kind of feel bluesy, someone will call you and just tell you, you know, hey, how you doing, bro? And
Yeah.
you know, I'm a huge Kim Scott fan. I just like.
I like Kim. Yeah.
She's a
I
good
bought her
mom.
music. I love her too.
She's a good mom. She's playing jazz. She's in her local symphony. She's a good human being. You know, who doesn't like? I like people's music who I like them as people.
Okay. Well, good deal. It's about that time for us to go ahead and wrap things up. But I just wanted to say
thank you, Ray.
thank you so
Joyce.
much.
Thanks, Jeannie. Thanks, Gary. I really had.
Yeah.
I had a great time at GGRS, GGRJ, and Associates. Thank you guys. I loved it.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
love you.
You
Come
guys
back.
are great. Thank
Come
you.
Give
back.
Diane a hug for me.
I will. I really had a blast, you guys. You
All
guys.
right.
Same
When
here.
you're not doing
Same here.
anything, come back on a Saturday. Same
Great.
time, same place. Come on back.
Hey, you get that face to Hollywood. You're wasting the pretty. Watch it.
That's some of the Hollywood money.
All right. Okay,
You're awesome.
folks.
Good night, you guys.
Good night. Good
Good
night.
night.
Good
Love
night.
you.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for us.
Typical Will.
It's all right. Here we are laughing. What if he passed out or
No.
something?
We
You know?
just-
No, he knocked down the computer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess it's that time. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and really do appreciate it. And if you happen to miss part of the program, we'll definitely have the replay archive of it for you to see later today. So just stay tuned for that, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. And let's see, I'll let Grizz going to tell us what's happening, if anything, next week. And again, we want to thank Will Donato for hanging out.
Yes.
Great time. All right, Ray.
Well,
Ray.
well, it's been enjoyable. The show, it's been good. I don't have too much to say. I done said it all on there. Shit.
Oh,
Oh,
sis,
man.
I'm
Oh.
sorry.
Wow.
Oh, me sorry. I'm sorry. Oh.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
It's me, myself, and I. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the rest of the week, yeah, have a good weekend, and Christmas is coming up. Well, that's gonna be joy for everyone, you know, since this pandemic and everything, you know. But you know, just be safe out there. See you later. Bye.
It was great show today. I really, enjoyed Will the first time. Enjoyed him today. He's got some fantastic music. I'm so impressed with him. So, but like Ray said, pandemic, quarantining, election results, all kinds of things are going on right now. So what a great place to come for a couple of hours and just to sit with some good music, good talk. So why don't you tell your friends that there isn't a safe escape on GHP Radio every Saturday at 2:00.
Yes.
We appreciate your support. All right? Keep me in your thoughts. Keep us in your thoughts and prayers as we end this season and get ready for 2021. We'll see you
Yay.
next Saturday.
All right.
All right, my turn. Okay, so.
You sure?
If you be quiet,
Well-
yes, I'm sure.
Oh, okay. I was just making a statement. I'm just kind of wondering.
Okay, I didn't interrupt you, so
Look,
it's my turn, if you
I'm
don't mind.
speaking, Mac. I'm speaking.
But the chair's not. Go ahead, Grizz.
I'm tired of this chair.
Okay,
Whew.
that was
right,
good. That
I'm
was a
good.
high five. Okay, all right. So still working on who we're getting next week because there was some stuff that came up. I'm like, ooh, didn't know about that. So hopefully this will work out. Of the guests that I'm working on, hopefully. So keep your fingers crossed. Want to thank everyone that's in the chat room for being here, for joining us. Thanks, guys, for your support. And please, everyone, join us next week. It's going to be a great show if I get everybody that I want, hopefully. Please invite friends. Tell them to come on in, even whether if you will join us in the chat room or not. But please tune in and hit the like button on Gary's channel. Subscribe so that way it'll give you an alert that, hey, we're live. Be careful out there. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
All right, everybody.
Ciao.
Bye-bye, everybody. See you next week.